Doing today? Welcome back to On the Ball and welcome back to another round of Premier League predictions where me and my brother go head to head in predicting Premier League outcomes. The scores on the doors at the moment is very close. It's 308 to 305 going into this round of predictions. And the way the scoring works, if you don't know by now, it's 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result, and the star man, once you pick that man, you can't pick them again for the rest of the season. And it's 5 points for a goal, 2 points for an assist. Let's get straight into the weekend's action. Starting off at the G-Tech, it's Brentford against Chelsea in a West London derby. Sim's gone for 2-2 here.
Yeah, and I think Brentford, in my opinion, not getting the results their performances deserve. I know they had a really poor result against West Ham, which maybe they would have expected more out of that game considering how they've been playing. And they're in very bad form at the moment, Brentford, to be honest. They're off the back of 4 defeats in their last 5. I believe it's 10 defeats in their last 12 games. So they definitely need to start picking points, especially now with Everton's points deduction being reduced. They're really in the thick of it now when it comes to the relegation battle. But I know Chelsea come into this obviously off the back of a really good win in midweek against Leeds, 3-2. Off the back of a cup final, which they took Liverpool all the way, but ended up losing. I think Brentford are going to be really up for this. And I think the way Brentford kind of play is really suited to playing against a really high-pressing Chelsea team. And even though Chelsea away from home did get a victory against Palace last time out and had some good results against Villa as well in the Cup, I think Brentford will come and retake the game to Chelsea, and I can see it being a really tough, even affair. I think Ivan Toney's going to get a lot of joy, but I think Chelsea will get a lot of joy as well, so I went for 2-2.
Yeah, I've gone for 3-1 to Chelsea. I'm looking at Brentford at the moment, and 2 wins in their last 14 games or something crazy like that. Yes, they've had some good performances in there, but I just feel like they're just leaking goals left, right and centre at the moment. It's a massive problem for them. And Chelsea, for all the criticism that they're coming under, yes, against Leeds, they left it late to win 3-2 in, which was a very nervy game for them. They got beaten by Liverpool's kids in extra time with Virgil van Dijk scoring there. But before that, they were getting some positive results, some interesting results. 3-1 away at Villa in the Cup, 3-1 away at Palace, where they absolutely smashed them in the second half. So I'm looking at this game and I think Chelsea will come out the better for it. So I think 3-1 to Chelsea, and Chelsea to get back to winning ways. I'm going to go, 3-1. Let's move on to Everton against West Ham at Goodison Park. Sim's gone for 2-1 to Everton. I've gone for 1-1 on the back of West Ham getting back to winning ways with a impressive 4-1 or 4-2 or 4-1 display against Brentford. I was really impressed with them in the first half. Jarrod Bowen getting a hat-trick there. But I think that when they come up against Everton at Goodison Park, they'll find it hard to break them down, as most teams do going to Goodison. So I couldn't really split the two sides. Everton, as much as they're solid and they're hard to beat, they're not really getting too many wins on the board either. So I've gone for 1-1 draw.
Yeah, I've gone for Everton to shade it. I think they are pretty good at home. Obviously, they were minutes away from getting a victory last week against Brighton if it wasn't for a last-minute Lewis Dunk header, which obviously stopped them getting all 3 points. But I think the way Everton play at home, they actually do press quite high and they're very aggressive in that front-flowing press. But once you bypass that press, they do go into a bit of a low block. But I think that could be really suited to playing a team like West Ham. I do see a lot of high overturns. I don't think West Ham are that good at playing out in the back, and also set pieces. We know how good Everton can be. I obviously, with the way way West Ham are going to set up, look to hurt Everton when they can. Paquetá now being back in the side. They had a really good opening half an hour against Brentford last week, but I did feel like as the game went on, Brentford getting really a lot back in the game, and late in the game they could have got back in it if it wasn't for some poor finishing. So I think Everton are going to shade this. I think Goodison home advantage is going to play a big part, and I think maybe if West Ham had a bit of different manager, it could be a different result. But I think with the way Moyes had them set up, I reckon they're going to get beaten here 2-1.
Yeah, that's why I think they're going to cancel each other out. You're looking at Everton; they just can't seem to get any sort of wins on the board, however well they play. Like 6 draws, I think, in their last 9 games, which is crazy, and only 1 win in there. So, yeah, I couldn't really split them. But let's move on to Craven Cottage. Fulham against Brighton. Sim's gone for 1-1 here.
Yeah, I went for Brighton to go to Craven Cottage and get a point. I think Brighton obviously had a really good result against Everton, considering the circumstances where they were down to 10 men, 1-0 down, and they ended up snatching a draw. I think watching Fulham last week against Man United was brilliant. I thought they were top notch, but I don't think Brighton are going to allow them those same gaps in the midfield that Man United allowed them. I don't see Fulham hurting them as much in transition, but I also think Fulham have actually done quite well in their general game recently, and I can see them on transitions, really hurting Brighton. But I actually think Brighton, I can see them dominating. They haven't been very good in front of goal, especially midweek. Lots of possession against Wolves, but struggled to find the net. But I don't think Fulham are as resolute as Wolves. So I see a similar game, but I actually see a share of the spoils here. So I'm going for 1-1.
Yeah, I kind of quite fancy Fulham at home actually this weekend. I think they're a very good home side. I think they're 8th in the form table when you're looking at home performances throughout the course of the season. Brighton always do find it hard going to Craven Cottage. I don't think they've won there in a very long time, albeit both Fulham have been up and down. Mitoma's out, so I think that will hurt Brighton as well. And I just look at Fulham, especially when they're at home, they're going to be able to beat Brighton on that transition. I think that's what's going to happen. So I said 2-1 to Fulham, and Fulham take the 3 points. Next up, we go to St James's Park, and it's Wolves that travel all the way up to Newcastle this weekend. Both of us going for draws, funnily enough. I've gone for 2-2. Sim's gone for 0-0. The reason I've gone for 2-2, I just feel like both these teams are going to fancy their chances, especially Newcastle being at home. Wolves, as much as you would think they're a defensively solid side, but they do concede quite a lot of goals for however defensively solid they are. And with Newcastle, with Isaac back in the team, he did have to go off early because he was just coming into it against Arsenal and coming back from injury. With him fully fit now and another week behind his belt, I do feel like Newcastle will be a big threat on the attack, but I feel like as well Wolves on the counter-attack with Pedro Neto would also carry their own threat. So I've gone for 2-2.
I've gone for 0-0 here. I think Wolves are going to set up very resolutely, and I think especially away from home, when they've done that against some good teams, they've been able to get some pretty good results, and they're a very good counter-attacking team. And I do see Newcastle having a lot of trouble breaking them down, to be honest, especially given how I've seen them recently. They've been struggling quite a bit, in terms of controlling games, Newcastle. So I think I can see them having lots of possession, but, Gordon, Isaac, Bruno, good players. But I think Wolves, the way recently I've seen them been defending in that low block, I've been quite impressed. So I can see Wolves really holding them out. And then I can see Wolves hitting them on the counter, but no Hwang Hee-chan and no Cunha, most likely as well, in this game. So they're likely going to have a front three of Neto, Sarabia,
where's Hwang?
Bellegarde. He's injured. Got injured in midweek. Gary O'Neill said he'll be very surprised if he plays on the weekend. So I don't see where I can see them maybe causing some problems. Where's that real finisher going to come from? I'm not 100% sure. So I do see them struggling to score goals as well. So I actually see both teams really struggling to convert their chances here, and that's why I've gone for 0-0.
All right, we move on to the City Ground. It is Nottingham Forest against Liverpool. Both have gone for the exact same scoreline here in 3-1 to Liverpool. And I think Darwin Núñez and Mo Salah are likely to be back in the frame this weekend as well. So I don't think it's any surprise why we've gone for this 3-1 win. Yeah,
I think especially Forest, I saw them midweek against Man United, and as much as they put Man United under pressure, Man United created lots of opportunities, and it was lucky that they only scored in the last minute. They could have easily scored before that. And I think with the quality Liverpool have, especially when you look at the week they've had, using their kids in the Carabao Cup final and in the FA Cup and getting wins, that'll be a massive boost. And the fact that they now have the trust that they can maybe bring in those kids, and also they've got these players like Salah Núñez coming back, is going to lead to an amazing feel around the club. We know how Forest are going to try and set up and frustrate Liverpool, and they do have real good players on the counter in Elanga, Awioni, but I just think with the talent Liverpool have in the forward line and the way they've been playing this season, I think they're just going to have too much quality for Nottingham Forest here. So I've gone for a convincing 3-1 win. Yeah, exactly the same for me. I mean, it doesn't take too much explaining why you think Liverpool are going to beat a Nottingham Forest side, but with all the star-studded quality coming back on the back of two really impressive victories in the Cup with the kids, you can't see anything but a convincing Liverpool win this weekend, let's be honest. So let's go to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's Tottenham against Crystal Palace in a London derby. I have gone for 3-2 to Tottenham. Sim's gone for 2-1. And I think there's a renewed sense of optimism around Crystal Palace with Glasner in the team. Spurs have historically struggled against teams that play three at the back this season. I don't think this is going to be any different. They're going to come into this confident thinking they can turn us over. But I think Spurs will have just about enough quality to win the game. I don't think we're going to have it our own way throughout the game. But
with injuries that we do have, Pedro Porro, potentially Richarlison as well, with Son leading the line, I think we'll have the clinical edge in the game to win the game 3-2, but I think it's going to be incredibly difficult.
Yeah, with rumours that Eze as well back for this one, that's going to be a major boost for Palace if he's involved. I have gone for 2-1. I do see it being a fairly tight game. I think it's going to be difficult to break down this Palace side, to be honest. And I think Glasner, obviously, really great first start against Burnley, 3-0 win. Although it's important to note they had to wait until after the red card and a bit of time in that second half to break the deadlock. Once they did, they obviously eased to a victory, and it was at the end of the day a really positive first display for Palace. The problem for Tottenham is, as you say, the timing is really bad because we've struggled against teams who play a back five, and that's how Glasner likes to play. And if we would have played them a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I should say, maybe it would have been different playing against a back four. Maybe we'll find it a bit easier, but now we're playing against a back five. It's going to be all that more difficult to break them down. But we'll still know Elise there. Maybe Eze not being completely fully fit, hoping anyway. Maybe that will lead to Palace still lacking that real threat going forward. And if they're not having that threat, it might be a bit too easy for Tottenham to pen them in and force those chances. And that's what I'm banking on. And that's why I've gone for Tottenham to scrape it 2-1 here.
Yeah, it is imperative that Tottenham do get back to winning ways in terms of the top four hunt, especially with the Manchester derby this weekend, with Aston Villa going to Luton. We just need to get those 3 points. But let's go and talk about that Aston Villa-Luton game at Kenilworth Road. We've both gone for the same scoreline here, in 2-1 to Aston Villa. And I feel like Aston Villa are just going to have a bit too much quality for Luton this weekend. Luton are on a dreadful run of form, to be honest. They have had 3 difficult games in a row, Liverpool, Man City and Man United, but you look further back from that, losing to Sheffield United, drawing 4-4 with Newcastle away, which was a fairly impressive result, to be fair, but that Sheffield United game would have hurt them massively and their confidence, and they really need to start getting points on the board if they've got any chance of survival, with Everton getting those points back from the deduction. Nottingham Forest and Brentford, they've both got wins in them, although we've both predicted them to lose this weekend. I feel like without Adebayo as well, they really lack a focal point up front. So I've gone for Villa 2-1.
Yeah, unfortunately, Luton are really starting to leak a lot of goals recently.
Yeah.
Like 6 in midweek against Man City was case in point in that, where they had a bit of robustness and solidity beforehand. It seems to have been going away at the moment, deserting them, I should say. So I kind of fear for Luton a bit, and I feel like they're still taking it to teams, especially at Kenilworth Road, and that's probably the best approach at the moment to try and get results. I do see, Barkley being on top form. I do see Villa being a bit under pressure. But I do think the gaps they're going to leave is going to allow the people like Watkins to make those smart runs, a bit like Haaland was doing in midweek, and just exploit this Luton side. And that's why I think, as much as it's going to be a game where it's toing and froing a bit, I think Villa will come out on top. So I've gone for 2-1 to Villa.
Moving on to Burnley against Bournemouth. 2 clubs that are yet to win since the turn of the year. But I do feel like there's a massive gulf between these two footballing sides, to be honest. Sim's gone for 2-1 to Bournemouth. I've gone for 2-0. And I feel it's time for Bournemouth to get back to winning ways. And they'll be sensing blood in this game against the Burnley side, who are just getting battered week in, week out at the moment. It looks as though they're pretty much destined for Championship football next season. And I think Bournemouth will come into this with a lot of confidence.
Yeah, and the only problem for Bournemouth at the moment is Solanke and looks like Unal, their new striker, both going to be missing this weekend, although that's not 100% confirmed, but they're both struggling with injuries, so I can see them struggling with a bit of a focal point this week. But just this Burnley side, they need wins. They can't afford to let more games pass them by. So the fact that they're under all this pressure, they're 11 points behind 17th at the moment, so nothing but 3 points will do. And being under that kind of pressure will leave them open, will leave them vulnerable, in my opinion, because even if they're drawing, I can't see them settling for a draw. I think I can see them going for more goals, and that leaves them vulnerable. I can see Bournemouth exploiting that with their front three, and I think Bournemouth are going to come away with the victory, unfortunately, and I think Burnley are going to be another week away from relegation.
Manchester derby up next. Manchester City, Manchester United at the Etihad. Both of us going for the convincing Manchester City wins. But Sim's gone for 4-1.
Yeah, I think De Bruyne and Haaland looking like in red-hot form in midweek, and they're two players who've historically done very, very well against Man United in the derby. I expect them to coming into this game flying with confidence. I expect De Bruyne to start. Obviously, Pep has been very careful with him when he's come back into the fold. He's rested him some games, but I don't think he'll rest him this game. I think Man United at home is such a special game, and I think they're really going to take it to Man United. Look, even in games they've won, they beat Forest in midweeks. I'm still not convinced. I know they got that 0-0 draw at Anfield earlier in the season, but even in that game, they were under a barrage of shots. And, if it wasn't for a bit of luck, it could have been very, very different on that occasion. I think if they're expecting to defend like they have been in recent weeks and get anything from the Etihad, I think they've got another thing coming. I expect Man City to completely dominate all facets of this game. Look, I also think, though, with Højlund out, I actually think in a weird way it could be a blessing in disguise, because I do think it's going to force Rashford up front, and I think this kind of fixture, that's where you want Rashford. I think you want him in the forward line stretching Man City, but I don't think it's going to hurt Man City nowhere near enough, and I think they're going to dominate. And I just can't see Man United, especially with their makeshift defence. I think Luke Shaw's out, Lindelof I think he might have picked up an injury midweek, so I think Man City are going to be very strong here, and I've gone for 4-1.
Yeah, I can't see anything but a Man City win and a convincing one of that. And I get what you're saying about Rashford, but I just feel like this ain't the Marcus Rashford of last season, where we saw him really breaking those lines and really running in behind and providing real quality. He just looks like this to have a bit of an attitude problem about him this season, and he doesn't cut a very happy figure at Manchester United, and it'll be interesting to see why that is, because there would be really good opportunities for him in this game if he was at it, but I just can't see him being at it, to be honest. And with Haaland coming back into form, scoring 5 goals in the week, Kevin De Bruyne laying on how many assists? 3 or 4 assists during the week? 4. So I mean, with them two, if them two are at it like they were midweek, then you got to feel like it's going to be a convincing victory for Man City. And it's not even those two; they've just got star-studded quality everywhere you look on the pitch. And with the Man United's injuries, Højlund, Shaw, and other players in there as well, I just can't see Man United being able to contain this Man City side. So 3-1 to Manchester City. And then we finish off talking about Sheffield United against Arsenal at Bramall Lane. Sim's gone for 4-0. I've gone for 5-0. Arsenal have been on red-hot form in the last 5-6 games, and I can't see it changing here against a Sheffield United side who are not playing well. They're losing every week and are coming up against the most informed side, the guys that are scoring the most goals in the Premier League. Bukayo Saka on incredible form as well. So I can't see anything but an absolute annihilation.
Yeah, me neither. I think I went for 4-0 instead of 5. I know Sheffield United have been shipping a lot of 5s recently. I think Sheffield United could probably take a bit of heart out of their performance against Wolves, where they were really unlucky maybe not to get anything, but at the end of the day they need points, and Heart's not going to do much for them, and the fact they came away with nothing is even going to make them more low on confidence as well. And against this Arsenal side, who are just hitting everyone for 6 at the moment, it seems, battering teams left, right and centre, I don't see Sheffield United being able to hold out this Arsenal team, and as soon as that deadlock is broken, I think the floodgates will open, and I think Arsenal would really take them to the sword. But I've just gone for 4-0.
All right, now it's time for the Star Men. And actually, we've got a ruling here that whoever gets their predictions in first gets first pick of the Star Man. And we actually picked the same Star Man this week, and it was Erling Haaland. Sim got his predictions in just before me, and he gets Erling Haaland against the Man United side this weekend. I've gone for Cole Palmer as my backup Star Man away at, who are they playing again?
Brentford.
Away at Brentford, yeah. So like I said before, I think Brentford have been leaking a lot of goals, and I think if Chelsea are going to do anything this game, I think he's going to be absolutely central to it, on penalties as well. So I've gone for Cole Palmer.
Yeah, does Haaland need any more explanation? Home to Man United. It's time to blow my Haaland load. Let's go. He's going to get a hat-trick this weekend. That's what I'm banking on.
Yeah, he's going to get injured in midweek just before the game.
I swear. Curse.
Yeah, that's what happened with me with Højlund. I picked Højlund, and then Sim messages me with the biggest smile on his face probably as he was messaging me. Højlund ain't playing this weekend. But anyway, that is our predictions for this weekend. Let me know your predictions in the comment section below, and who do you think is going to get more points out of our predictions? Let me know in the comment section below, and we'll see you next time.